The words of the reckless pierce like swords, but the tongue of the wise brings healing.
Hello and welcome back to the Three Disciples podcast. I'm your host, Nick, and today I'm joined by two of my close friends.
I'm Kivash.
And I'm Farzam.
And we are three Christians, diverse in culture and perspective, who have come together today for today's episode.
Filtered by the Spirit.
Let's dive into our conversation after a quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is sponsored by Crossland Church. Looking for a place to belong? At Crossland Church, everyone is welcome. Join us for meaningful worship, real community, and a message of hope. Sundays at Crossland Church. Come as you are. There's a place for you here.
Hello, everyone. Today's podcast, Filtered by the Spirit, is inspired by another podcast, My Morning Devotional, and their episode called Choose Your Words. Beginning with references to their podcast, they brought up important points from important passages from Proverbs, such as anyone who rebukes a mocker will get an insult in return. Anyone who corrects the wicked will get hurt. So don't bother correcting mockers. They will only hate you. But correct the wise and they will love you. Instruct the wise and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous and they will learn even more. So I'm just wondering what you guys think of this.
I feel like it's very important for us to realize that we can't insult or rebuke other mockers because we're also in the same place as them. We've also done the same things they have. So we can't be the people to rebuke another person when we've done the same things that they have. It is unjust, it is unethical, and only judgment is for God. That's what I think,
Yeah, tied to that, I feel like that's kind of also acting like how you should be. It says, where does it say? Instruct the wise and they will be even wiser. Teach the righteous and they will learn even more. And they will love you as well. So that kind of like says, if you like someone rebukes you, they kind of tell you what you did, how you did wrong. Instead of attacking them back, you kind of say, like, appreciate their words of help and wisdom and like kind of learn on that and like build upon that.
Okay, so you're saying that this passage isn't only about the non-believers and how we should approach conversation with them, but even how we should understand our own selves outside, and it's not just about the people outside the church.
Yeah, speaking of outside the church, like the way you kind of interpret and feel about everything going around us, especially now, like Canada, especially the government, the economics, it's all like going downhill. We don't really know where that's going. And you could just constantly like reflect your life upon that, and that'll always put you in a bad mood. Or you can kind of like choose your own environment, like be around people that don't talk about things like that. They don't bring you down, and just like try to like not let any of that outside stuff, like the non-believer things outside of the church, don't let it affect your peace and your faith.
Yeah, that was another important point that the podcast brought up.
Yeah, I just want to talk about like Matthew 15:18, where Christ says, "But the things that come out of a person's mouth come from the heart, and these defile them." And Christ's meaning behind this is our speech reveals what is inside us. Controlling our tongue starts with a pure heart. So we have to recognize that it always comes from internally. We have to fix our mind on God, on Christ. So we come out with a pure heart. When we go to school and go around and talk to others, we come out with a pure heart, with pure intentions. And that's the only way we can achieve that is by having the focus on Christ. And through him, we're able to gain a pure heart so we can speak out of love and revile any bad language towards another, because Christ is love, and we're called to show love through our actions, and especially through our words, because words to mean a lot.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Choose Your Words podcast puts it very, very plainly and very appropriately when they said, "We are Christians first. Let the Spirit filter your mouth."
Yeah, I like that. But like filtering your mouth, the podcast also tells us to control our tongues and ask us, before you say anything, ask yourself if it's worth it. If it's worth even getting into a disagreement with any mocker or the wicked when they don't even see a need for common ground. That's what the podcast is. And I agree with that, because then if they don't even want to try to like make something up or like come to like an equilibrium level with each other, There's no point because they're gonna keep arguing, arguing, and they like that. What's the point in like putting yourself with that person and continue like fueling the argument when it's just gonna make you feel worse about yourself, worse about your day?
I like that. And Christ, again, also calls us to be peacemakers, and we're called to bring him everywhere we go. Our character represents Jesus. So if we speak bad and speak in a bad way to others, how does that represent Christ? Because in Christ's life, he never cursed at anyone, never talked bad about anyone, never gossiped. So if we are, as Christians, representing Christ, how can we have that language around our brethren and our brothers and speak like that to one another? Because we're supposed to be peacemakers. And if we cannot represent that, how are we representing Christ in our day-to-day life?
Yeah, Kivash, I think your point about if it's asking yourself if it's really worth getting into an argument with someone who doesn't want to find common ground is very relatable in my personal experience. I find myself in situations where I must like speak up to my brothers in Christ because their faith is in our God. But there are some who the Bible refers to as the wicked, and though it warns us of getting hurt. So there's like it's important that we don't impute on our own faith and our own morals, but also understanding that not everyone serves the same God. And because of that, we must make sure that we're holding those who do claim and try to serve the same God to the standards of our God. And we can help warn others who may not have the same beliefs as us, but we can't be consumed by pointless conversation with no common ground, and those who I'd say have hardened hearts and really don't want to hear the message, and the message just brings conflict between people because that ruins your own peace as well.
Right.
Mm.
And I like how you said that, because in John 13, verses 34 to 35, Christ says, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another." Meaning, Christ shows that love is expressed through words, action, and actions is the defining mark of a follower of Christ. So, by this, again, I'm going to use also my personal example. If I notice with my brethren and my brothers, when I talk to them as a loving manner, as a person that cares uh, and truly cares for their well-being and what they do in their walk with Christ, they receive that message much more. Rather than I come off as being trying to be judgmental, it's like, hey, you're Christian, you're supposed to do this. How can you do this and do that? We're called to love one another as Christ loved us.
Yeah, Farzan, and I think that relates to the podcast a little bit, right?
Right. Yeah. When it talks about the podcast, give your energy to the people who want to make peace with you, reach a kind understanding.
Yeah, for sure. So it's about giving your energy to the people who actually want to find common ground rather than the pointless void of those who really just want conflict in their life and don't want to find that common ground.
Yeah. You know, building on what you guys just said, I kind of feel like what I gathered from listening to that podcast is kind of like thinking more about what you say before it actually comes out your mouth, and just think about who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect them. Is this going to be a more petty thing than they're saying to you? Is it going to be rude? Is it going to be something that uplifts them, or is it just going to bring them down? I myself, I've had experiences where like I was trying to correct my friends in a way where I feel like in the past I was being a bit judgmental, and it kind of just kept escalating and getting worse because we were both pretty petty, when in reality one of us should have at least chosen to rise above that pettiness and kind of like not let that argument and the disagreement continue elevating and elevating. And to that point, it kind of like severed our relationship, and it kind of like allowed us to just kind of like have this kind of hate in our hearts for each other in that moment. Because sometimes in the moment, like these things can come out. You can say things like, "Oh, I hate you," but later on, you may not actually mean that. But if you choose to stay petty and not rise above your pettiness in that moment, it's just gonna get worse for you and your friend, and then the future relationship you're gonna have with them.
Right. And a podcast reference actually talks about be peacemakers and bring Christ wherever you go. And so I feel like this is very important because Christ calls us to be peacemakers in everywhere we go, and that's by our words, that's by our actions, and bringing the character Christ represented by showing love to one another and how he went up on the cross for us, be sacrificial to one another. And that's a very important note to have that the podcast showed and talked about. And I feel like that should be put in everyone's hearts and minds to recognize that we should be peacemakers everywhere we go and bring Christ's character.
For sure. Because ultimately, the God is the only judge. It says in 2 Corinthians 5:10, "For we must all stand before Christ to be judged. We will each receive whatever we deserve for the good or evil we have done in this earthly body." That's basically telling us that we are not the judges of this earth. And even though we can spread the good news, spread the message, and warn people, are open to the message, that the ultimate judgment is the Lord's and the Lord's alone. And even it continues with a message like this in Matthew 7, verses 1-3. "Do not judge others, and you will not be judged, for you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use for judging is the standard by which you will be judged. And why worry about a speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own?" And this is really about the equalness of all people in the eyes of Christ, and the fact that judging is not ours, and judgment is actually harmful to us. He says, the standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. So he's saying, if you're very judgmental to all these people, he'll be judgmental on you. And you know, and he knows the bad that you've done, which, as I referenced earlier, we will each receive whatever we deserve for the good or evil we have done in this earthly body. So it's very important that we are careful with our judgment and self-aware of our own flaws.
Yeah, Nick, I really like what you said there, but to kind of touching back on what Farzam said about how you kind of represent Jesus everywhere you go and you got to bring him with you. If we're to go out and be disrespectful and rude and act like the wicked, people who might see us, they might judge Christians in general, and they think like, oh, Christians are like this, like that. And then in the moment where they actually need God the most, they may think, oh, this isn't the right way to go. I should go somewhere else, go to another religion or another like output source of your emotions.
I love how you ended that. And with this, I want to bring us to the end of the podcast. And guys, thank you so much for listening. I just hope this podcast could help you guys into your day-to-day life and how you could bring Christ to everyone. Watch your words, watch your actions, watch everything you do. Because again, the love of Christ goes beyond what we can imagine. So why not bring the love to everyone by speaking good to one another, being kind to one another? And I hope that you guys take this to your heart and to your souls and keep it in there and show the light of Christ to everyone around you. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you guys have a blessed day. And yeah.